Hello, we're here to talk today about using the NSLOOKUP command to troubleshoot DNS issues. Okay, to start using NSLOOKUP, we'll need access to the Windows operating system, and go ahead and open up a command prompt. And to use NSLOOKUP, it can be used in two ways. You can use it in interactive mode or non-interactive mode. Non-interactive mode basically just means that you use the NSLOOKUP command and just type in the hostname you're trying to resolve. For instance, NSLOOKUP, and then type in the hostname you're trying to resolve. And NSLOOKUP queries the DNS server that's configured on this machine and responds with the results. If you want more control over the NSLOOKUP command, then you want to run it in interactive mode. And to do so, you just type in the command NSLOOKUP. Now you'll notice this time when I typed in NSLOOKUP, I connected to the DNS server that's configured on my TCP/IP stack, and you'll note that by the results here, default server, I'm connected to a name server1.itgear.test, and its address is 192.168.131.65. And you'll notice that I'm still within the NSLOOKUP prompt, so I can continue issuing NSLOOKUP commands. Okay, so the most basic command you'll type for NSLOOKUP is just a typical hostname. In the previous example, I typed in www for this domain called itgear.test. So I'll just try it again. And you'll notice that the server that responded is in the first section. It's hostname and IP address, and the results are in the second section. The results came back for www record, and the address that it resolved to was 127.0.0.1. So NSLOOKUP is getting this information from the DNS server that I'm connecting to, and the DNS server that I'm connecting to may or may not have that zone that I'm querying. If I do have the zone, it's coming back with an authoritative response. If it's not, for instance, if that DNS server has to go out and get that information from another DNS server on the internet, it'll come back with a non-authoritative response, such as, let's try to resolve the hostname google.com. And here you go. DNS server went out and got me the information for Google, and these were the results. In this case, google.com hosts multiple records for that single hostname. NSLOOKUP has other parameters you can use to get more detail and better querying. To get more help, just type in the question mark at the prompt, and you'll get a listing of all the different types of parameters and queries that you can run with NSLOOKUP. Basically, the commands are as follows. For instance, normally when I type in NSLOOKUP, I'll use either host names, or if I set specific options. For instance, if I want to look for a specific type of record, or for instance if I want to set a specific default domain name, I can do that as well. Let's go ahead and try an example where we only want to return the results for NS type records. So if I say set type equals NS, now if I type in the domain itgeared.test, the only response that's going to come back is the name server records for that domain. In this case, this is the host name for the server that's listed as a DNS server or a name server for that domain, and the address that came back was as follows. Other things that I can do to troubleshoot, specifically on internal networks, is for instance, if I'm having a zone transfer problem between two name servers, I can actually attempt to do a zone transfer using the NSLOOKUP command. For instance, if I type in ls-e, which is right here, ls for the listing of addresses in a domain, -d I want to see all records, and if I type in the domain name and I hit enter, it'll request a zone transfer. Now, by default, DNS zones are generally set to not allow zone transfers, or if they are set to allow zone transfers, they're secured in a way where they specify which servers can request a zone transfer. So if I hit enter, you'll notice that it says can't list the domain IT geared that task query refused. Now if we open up the DNS admin console and I go to the properties of the zone, there's a zone transfers tab. Now if I click on allow zone transfers, I can specify that this server will either allow zone transfers to basically any other system requesting a zone transfer, or I can be specific to only name servers listed in the name service tab, or I can also specify to the following IP addresses. Now that I hit apply, if I go back to my command prompt and I type in the same command, I should get the zone contents, which I did. Now up to now I've been communicating with the DNS server that is configured on the TCP/IP stack, but what if I wanted to go ahead and troubleshoot a different DNS server? I can do that by typing the command server and typing the IP address of the server that I want to communicate with. For instance, let's say I want to run a query against one of the public DNS servers on the internet. Okay, so now you notice I'm connected to the DNS server with an IP address of 8.8.8.8, which belongs to Google. And from there I can go ahead and issue a command. Basically came back with the information I was requesting about the zone itself. If I wanted to change the query parameters, I need to go back and set the type. And we could try it again. And there you go. So the key to using NSLOOKUP is basically becoming comfortable with the different parameters that you can run against the DNS server. Of course, for the most part, you'll just be issuing a hostname query, but you do have the option to refine your query as we showed earlier. Well, that concludes this demonstration of how to use NSLOOKUP to troubleshoot DNS issues. Thank you for watching.